Democrats, as you well know, face an uphill battle to keep control of the Senate this cycle. Republicans need a net gain of only 2 seats to take back the chamber. But Senator Gary Peters, the chair of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, has defied gravity before, helping his party hold on to power during a similarly challenging cycle in 2022. This time, he is pulling out all the stops. Earlier this month, the DSCC made investments in Texas and Florida in their Senate races after both seats not long ago were considered by most to be all but lost for Democrats. And Democratic Senator Gary Peters of Michigan joins us now. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Good morning, Senator. It is a treat to have you here because I kind of align myself with your thinking, sir, about the prospects of the Democrats in the United States Senate. I think there are a lot of factors in these various races that are not accounted for in polling, and it's certainly not accounted for by the political party, my party, when it comes to how to run those races. What's your response to those who are painting this as a fait accompli, that the Democrats will automatically lose this because West Virginia, for all intents and purposes, is going to be one of those seats that flip from D to R, which means the Republicans only need one more pickup. But I have a sense that there's a little bit more at stake here in terms of this effort coming to benefit the Democrats than people may realize.
Well, I'm glad you have that view because I think it's an accurate view. I mean, we're basically where we always thought we would be. We knew these were going to be really tough races. They're in battleground states, presidential battleground states, and by definition, a battleground state is going to go right down to the wire, like my home state here in Michigan. And so we're where we thought we'd be. But the way we won last cycle, it was mentioned in the opening. We were able to win last cycle when folks didn't think that was going to happen. In fact, we made history, first time since 1934 to do that. And the same dynamics. So we have superior candidates and incumbents versus highly flawed Republicans. We can run a candidate versus candidate race in each of these states. And because we've always known that they're going to be very close, we've built up a very effective and strong ground campaigns. In our presidential battleground states, we've been able to team with the presidential efforts there. And we're knocking on doors, talking to folks, turning people out. The enthusiasm is incredible. But we are facing, there's no question, a lot of money that's coming in. Just in our main battleground states in the blue wall, we've had Republicans put in announce over $40 million against us here at the last minute. So fundraising is important, which is why my defendthesenate.org site for the DSCC is critical, because we need to plug the gaps that we're seeing as a result of this onslaught of Republican money coming in the end. But if folks go to defendthesenate.org, they can contribute in a way that helps us plug those gaps and win. I'm still very confident that Jon Tester is going to win in Montana. It's really tough to poll there. Retail politics makes a whole lot of difference, and Jon is the best at that. He'll pull it out. And then we can go on the offense. So what we're seeing in Texas, I think, is very encouraging, in Florida as well.
Let's talk about your home state, the ex-president in Michigan just yesterday. Once again, just absolutely dissing Detroit while in Detroit. Take a listen.
I mean, they want me to say, oh, Detroit's great. Oh, it's so great. It needs help. So I said it needs help. And people said, oh, he wasn't positive. I can't be positive. I'll be positive within 2 years. I'll be positive. You'll see what positive is. But how the hell can you be positive?
He wasn't in Detroit, but he was in Michigan. And the message remains consistent there, both what you think about the ex-president being in Michigan, saying that, and what you are saying to voters in your own home state about why they need to come out and vote, not just top of the ticket, but all down ballot.
Well, first off, it's outrageous what he said about Detroit. Detroit has had an amazing comeback over the years. It's a vibrant city. The people in Detroit are incredibly offended by what Donald Trump said, as they should be. But he's never liked Detroit. You have to remember in 20, when he lost the election in 20, he tried to disenfranchise the whole city. They attacked the count there so that nobody's vote would count. He doesn't care about Detroit. He always insults the city. I think we're going to see a huge turnout in Detroit. People are going to realize that he is a person who is unfit for office, doesn't understand exactly what's happening in their city as well as other places around the country. So I think he's going to pay a big price for that. And as we're campaigning here in Michigan, I was with the vice president yesterday with Mrs. Obama in Kalamazoo. The enthusiasm was absolutely over the top with folks who are out there working and making sure that the voters turn out. And folks realize that when Kamala Harris wins as the presidency, she needs to have a majority in the United States Senate. And our Senate race with Alyssa Slotkin is critical to that. It's difficult for us to hold a majority if I don't hold Michigan. And I'm certainly confident we're going to be able to win there. Alyssa's running a great campaign, a big contrast between her and her opponent. She needs the resources. We need the resources at the DSCC. And that's why defendthesenate.org is so important, because I do have gaps that I need to fill in Michigan, but in Wisconsin as well, with a lot of money coming into Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, as well as the other states. But so far, we are where we thought we would be at this point. Now we just have to run through the tape and bring home the victory.
So one of those races, while you're filling the gap in the spaces that you need to fill the gap in, and that's smart, appropriate effort by the Senatorial Committee, you have this little thing called Texas. And I bet, well, you, sir, may have had Texas on your bingo card, but I know a lot of folks probably did not. And particularly when you look at the dynamics there, let's take a quick listen to Colin Allred on Ted Cruz in Houston on Friday.
At the same time, after he'd gone around the country lying about the election, after he'd been the objector to the results in Arizona, Ted Cruz was hiding in a supply closet. That's okay. That's okay. I don't want him to get hurt by the mob. The point is, there shouldn't have been a mob. There shouldn't have been one. And if you summon one and then you run for United States Senate, you got to lose your job.
Allred is a dynamic and very appealing candidate in the state of Texas, and that has shaken Republicans a little bit, because now they have to put resources in a state they shouldn't have to put resources in. Well, so that says a lot about your game, sir, in terms of how you're looking at the map with the kind of candidates that you have in a place like Texas.
Absolutely. He is a superstar candidate. You know, he's been able to win in a tough congressional district. He beat a longtime Republican in the suburbs of Dallas. He connects with folks in an incredibly meaningful way. And the issues are on his side, as he talked about at the rally. And having the Vice President Harris there at that rally, I think, was significant, particularly the focus that we saw on reproductive freedom. You know, Texas has draconian rules. We have women who are being denied essential care that have to leave the state in order to get health care. That's absolutely outrageous that has to happen. Folks have to know that has happened under Ted Cruz's efforts to basically undermine the basic freedoms and rights that women have for reproductive freedom. And so we're confident we're going to have a huge vote of folks who want to make sure that their voice is heard and understand who took away their fundamental rights, and then punish them at the voting booth, which is the way this democracy is supposed to work. And we have an amazing candidate in Colin Allred, who's delivering a very powerful message and has a history of fighting effectively for the people of the state of Texas.